How far should you hit the golf ball with your driver? This has to be one of the most frequently asked questions I get as a golf pro. I'm going to answer that today, not only by index, so handicap your ability, but also by age. When you start looking at age, distance, and handicaps relating to each other, the last tips of these videos are really going to make you understand how, no matter what age you are at, you could still maximize and hit your driver further. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you some tips to help you hit it longer, but for your age, so age-specific distance help. Also, the graphs in today's videos can be a little bit overwhelming. Remember, pause the video if you want to digest that information a bit more. Remember to subscribe. As always, if you're not subscribed already, what are you doing? Hit the like button, show me you like these kind of videos. Description down below, free newsletter for you as well. Golf tips every week. So looking at the Aros data collected from billions of golf shots, we see a few obvious patterns. Distance peaks between your 20s and 30s, we would expect that. A scratch golfer in their 20s is averaging around 274 yards. Drop to a 10 handicap index golfer, they're still pumping it out there at 237. Even a 20 handicapper is still knocking it out there at 217 yards. Not bad at all. And the graph shows us what we'd expect. Distances goes up the better the player, and it also drops off the older you get. But here's the standout point. So the 60 to 69 year olds, 0 to plus index players, so the better players but older, hit it further than the 10 to 14.9 index players in their 30s, which tells us a lot. It basically tells us that getting the most out of your skill or the most out of what you put in is just crucial. So if you're putting in whatever speed you're putting in, 100 mile an hour, 120 mile an hour, 80 mile an hour clubhead speed, are you getting the most out of that? And most of you are not. First port of call to think about when it comes to getting the most out of your driver is loft. So you have a loft on your club. This club has 9 degrees of loft static. But the important question, and the one lots of golfers get wrong, is what is the loft at delivery? So for me, I start at 9, but I deliver around 15 degrees of loft. I'm adding some levels of loft. But what we see from higher handicappers down to lower handicappers are good at delivering the loft that gives them the best ball flights. High handicappers, not. Often faces twisted with more loft on. Club paths coming across and the handle back and the head flicking way forward, which results in massive deflection. Meaning you hit with more loft, so it's going to be more skid off the face. You hit across the ball, which is a deflection blow rather than hitting straight through. So there's just hemorrhaging speed everywhere. It's not only about going faster, it's about getting the most out of what you put in. So how do you control the loft? I want you to focus on one position only, and that position is last parallel on the way down. So when the club moves into last parallel on the way down, I want you to play with hitting shots where you point the glove here, so my Strixon pad, up to the sky, which people call this open. This has more loft on it, this club, compared to then hitting somewhere you have the glove pointing more down slightly to the ground, pointing that face also down to the ground. These two angles will differ what loft you deliver at impact. Just to give you a quick example, I'm going to hit like little soft little chip forwards here so you can see them. If I move into last parallel with the face turned up to the ground, pad up to the ground here, and try to hit one out in front of me, it's going to go kind of with a driver here, like head height. It just kind of chipped out in front. I'm going to do one now where I deliver less loft, face more down to the ground, wrist more down to the ground. Again, only thinking of last parallel. So as you move into impact, so I'm going to move down into impact, club more down to the ground, chip it forwards. That ball is literally falling out the air with the driver at this speed and turning left. If I add my normal speed to that shot, that's going to maximize. The first one, when I hit it softer, adding more loft, it kind of worked, went out, popped out in front of me. But if I add my normal speed to that, that ball's going to curve off to the right, go really high. It's just going to hemorrhage any of the distance you're trying to get out of the action you put in. The delivered loft at impact is crucial, and that's going to come from you controlling your wrist angles throughout the swing, getting that last parallel and playing with down to the ground and face turned up to the sky is huge for controlling loft. Now, the one question I get when I tell people this, but where's the right position, Mark? Where should I be? That's the wrong question, and it's the most common one I got. What you've got to do is you've got to work with what's too much and what's too little, and then find out where your sweet spot is. I can show you Nelly Corder, last position, her wrist is turned massive down to the ground. I can show you other world-class golfers, their wrists are slightly turned up, because it's relative to the start position that you started. You need to find your position. Good players have good range of movement in last parallel, they can do both of those. Players who are not so good at delivering loft, they hemorrhage distance, they have no control over it. You need to start practicing it. Club path. Like we said earlier, if your loft isn't controlled, also then what happens is the club path starts getting maybe too far out to in or in to out. If you start hitting from extreme angles at the golf ball, it's a deflecting blow. So if you imagine I go 100 miles an hour at this angle at the ball, that is not going to put as much energy through the ball as if I go 100 miles an hour straighter on. It's more of a collision rather than a deflection, and we want collisions, maxing out the collision down at impact. Easiest way of thinking of club path, from the top of your backswing, I want you to think that turns, rotations will throw the club out. Rotations basically move my hands, move the club out towards the ball. And I want you to then on the top of your backswing to think that tilts, so if I tilt, that drops the club back. So if I basically stand here and tilt, it drops the club back. If I turn, it moves the club out to the ball. So you need a combination of tilts and turns. High handicappers often from the top of their backswing very early to turn, club moves out, and then we see these kind of try to correct on the way down, or they just hit across the ball. What we see from better players is they have back to target a little bit more, they retain some side bends, some tilts, and then they start really rotating out towards the ball, delaying that turn to get the club out at the end, out to the ball. So the more you can play with turns and tilts, really good for practicing club path. So top of your backswing, what I want you to do is from here, so bear in mind my shoulders are pointing this way, I want you to feel that this shoulder goes up, this shoulder goes down, and see what happens to the club path. You're going to notice that it drops ridiculously too far from the inside. Up the top of the backswing, I want you to think that you just turn. Just keep your shoulders the same position they were in and just rotate. And see how that moves that club out. And then you're going to try and combine those two feelings. Top of the backswing, ideally, we want a little bit more tilt to then turn through. Delaying that turn through is great for controlling club path and maximising distance. Now the last one, really key, you can do this on the golf course, is you need a good intent. So I want to hit this driver long. So if I wanted to hit this driver kind of short of my full distance and really pinpoint accuracy, let's say that was my model, I would be doing practice swings kind of this way, very gentle, a bit smaller, because I'm going to take some speed off and I'm just going to work my intention, a soft little driver into the middle of the fairway, into my practice swing. But I don't. On this hole, I want to send it. I want to get this driver going. So what you're going to start seeing me do is make longer, faster, much bigger preps, like I'm really trying to get the blood flushing and moving around. I'm really trying to get my body alive and ready to step in. My intention is to really whack this ball, so I've done it in that practice swing, and then I'm going to apply those ideas to my shot. Boom! Ah, stay left. That was a rip. Get those speeds up even before you've hit the ball. Get those body movements quick, energetic, and now get out to the ball. Remember, if you like the video, hit the subscribe button. Also smash the comments up. Let me know, how far do you hit your driver and what age are you? Are you in these numbers? Can't wait to share with you the keys to speed at the end of this video. But for now, let's have some quick hacks for creating the most speed you can get for your age, certainly for the younger and the middle-aged golfer watching. Young golfers need to be pushing the ceiling as often as possible. The same way you might think about pushing your putting. You're going to work on your putting every day, or your chipping, or your approach play. These are all skills in golf, trying to make sure that your speed ceiling keeps raising in those prime years is such a skill that more golfers need to be practicing. Pushing that ceiling, hitting plenty of shots really fast every day, as hard as you can. So then when you get to the course and you run at your gaming speed, those speeds start creeping up. Now those middle-aged golfers, the golfers where you're just about to turn that corner, the ones who maybe don't play as much as you used to, once a month, once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever it is, You need to be making sure you're doing stuff when you haven't got time at the golf course. So thinking about doing more mobility work, making sure that you're keeping supple, making sure that you're trying to keep your strength maintained, because you're going through those years where you're going to start losing strength every 10 years. So when you haven't got time to get to the golf course, which is frustrating, you can still be working on those speed gains, and you should be doing it off course as much as you can in your daily life. It will really improve your golf. What if I told you I hit the ball now further than I've ever hit the ball? And I'm not talking about equipment improvements, none of that. I'm talking my swing speed, ball speeds are faster than they've ever been. Certainly swing speed. Resulting ball speed, obviously equipment plays its part, but relative to what I'm putting in. And if there's one huge gain for everyone watching this video, certainly anyone who's maturer, it's going to be in these next points. So you have to find your own power source. I found mine when I got my gains, when I made my huge gains. I found out that I have a vertical power source that's quite strong, but it comes out a bit late, and I worked on getting it coming out earlier, but it puts extra strain on my body. As I get older, that's certainly going to become harder. So you need to find a power source that's going to work for you. So let's pretend you've got less mobility. Let's, for instance, say rotating lots is really hard. If I can't rotate like I want to, I ain't just going to give up on creating power. I'm going to find a different power source. So for me and students I've worked with who can't rotate, we work on more horizontal with a bit of vertical as well, meaning I don't mind golfers swaying way off the ball and swaying way back on. If rotation is limited and hard, I'm going to use this action with a bit of this action to try and promote that speed. And yeah, it's going to look funny and it might look like a fault, but it's not a fault, because you've got to find your power sources. I could play like that all day, and that's going much further than me trying to turn if I can't physically turn. Finding that horizontal with a bit of lift, drop, lift is a great way of extending your movement. The next thing you can do, again, limited movement, can't really rotate. I'm going to try and feel like I have a longer arm swing. So as I pull my arms back across my chest, I'm going to make sure I try and push them up a bit more. So in effect, I'm moving my arms this way and up. So if I'm able to have this range of movement, but this is hard, then I'm going to try and get that range of movement longer to get my hands away from me. Even if it requires me to bend my arm a little bit more to get the range of the club getting further back, I'm just going to use that. It's a different way of creating some speed. So I'm going to try and stay very connected to the ground, not really turn my body much, arm across chest, stretch, and then swing out. Again, you see I'm not really moving. I'm trying to restrict all my mobility to show you that you can still push your distances on, maintain some of that speed with some creative uses, some different forces. Higher tee, maybe even a higher loft. I get loads of golfers come to me with 10 degrees loft drivers, 10 degrees loft, but they're not swinging very fast. I give them a 13-degree loft, their spin is better, their launch is better. I tee the ball up a bit higher, get some hitting up at a bit more, get some tilting a bit more, and they gain distance. They don't feel like they've done anything different. We've just adapted everything around where their power sources are. If I'm swinging at 120 mile an hour, so really, really fast, and I put the ball inside my lead heel and tee it low, I can get this ball launching and going and getting out there. It'll be a shot you'll see tour players use. If I'm swinging at 70 miles an hour, I'm going to tee this ball up high. This loft is not quite right. I'm going to go more for a 13, so I'm going to try and do it as I swing. I'm going to push the ball up towards my lead toe, let the handle come back a little bit. You can see how this tilts me a bit more. This is going to help me hit up at the ball with a bit more loft. Yes, it might make me slice a fraction more, so I might drop lead trail foot back a little bit to counter that. But I'm just going to try and pop that ball up in the air, launch it up with my limited range of movement to make sure I'm trying to max out, get the most out of what I put in. And the key being what I can put in, because we're all so different in where we're going to find our power sources. Because remember, we're all aging, so our power sources is going to change over time. So finding that one for you is crucial. Now, if you want to find out how far you want it, your 7-iron, or how far it should go, this video is really helping a lot of people. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Newsletter down below as well. It's totally free. Sign up. See you next week.